60% of the people, when they have conversations, they talk about themselves. And this proportion, this ratio increases to 80% when they are on the social media. They just talk about themselves. On the contrary, 94% of the British people, when they have conversations, they talk about weather in the last 6 hours. These are two different extremes, and today we're going to talk about certain habits which are in between that can help us have a great conversation. Let's jump right into the content and talk about what are these 10 habits that can make conversations great, genuine, and effective. Talking about these two extremes, and let me explain what I want to say. On one hand, we have people who just want to talk about themselves. When they have conversations, 60% of the times they're talking about themselves. Self-obsession on one side. On the other hand, we have British people who, when they have conversations with strangers, 94% of the times they're only talking about weather. I think that is one way of staying safe, making sure that you do not offend anybody with your conversation. Let me ask you another question. In the past 5 to 6 months, how many times have you had conversations with people on the social media after which you have blocked them? We are not comfortable having conversations. We cannot tolerate different perspective, and that kills a lot of conversations. So when people want to stay safe within conversations, they choose topics like weather, health, or what did they do in the previous weekend. Even that is not safe anymore. First things first, while reading about conversations, I read stuff like, how to approach a person before a conversation, how to shake hands, how to have a smile on your face, and how to make an eye contact, how to show that you are paying attention, how to show that you are present in the moment. It's absurd. You don't have to show the tips and tricks that you are present in the moment, you're right there in the moment, when you're actually right there in the moment, paying attention to that person. That's the first habit that we need to develop, that we need to be genuinely interested in a person or in a conversation when we join into a conversation. That's the first thing. Dalai Lama, or Dalai Lama, or whatever you may want to pronounce his name as, but what the great man has said actually makes a lot of sense to me. And that is, when you speak, you say things that you already know. But when you listen, you might as well learn something new. So we need to listen. Conversations are not about just talking. It's a social fad that conversations are about talking. No, conversations are about a proper balance between listening and talking. Umpteen number of times we overshoot conversations. We jump the gun just because we want to talk. We think we want to contribute to the conversation. A proper contribution to a conversation can also be to listen to the other person. That'll make you more aware of the perspective of the other person, and that'll help you have a quality conversation. Just talked about Dalai Lama, and I was talking about what he said, that when you talk, you're saying things that you already know. But when you listen to somebody, you might as well learn something new. To have an awareness that, when I enter a conversation, I enter the conversation in order to learn. Great people, influential people, people who do something in their lives, they don't have conversations just to talk. They have conversations also to learn from the other person. Everybody has something to teach us. Everybody knows something that you don't know and I don't know. So when I should enter a conversation, I should make sure that I enter with a mindset, and that's a habit, to learn. Now, once you do that, the next thing that you want to do will become very easy. And that habit is, when you enter a conversation, look for inspiration in the person within the conversation too. Enter a conversation to get inspired. Look for things that amaze you about the person. When you're talking about something, having a conversation on a topic, what inspires you in that topic? What amazes you? If you pay attention to that thing, your conversation is always going to be focused towards what needs to be focused, the topic and the person. Apart from that, there's a very important habit that we need to pay attention to, and that is when we have conversations, let's try to limit our closed-ended questions and make sure that we have a habit of using more lead-ins and open-ended questions. Most of us know what open-ended questions are. They begin with what, where, when, why, how, and stuff like that. Interrogative adverbs. And we also use lead-ins. For example, if somebody says, my name is Nasser, you want to know the person's age. So you'd be like, oh, and your age is, and the person will respond. So use more of open-ended questions and lead-ins. That'll help maneuver the conversation into a direction that you want the conversation to go. So you are, in a way, having a bit of a control in the conversation too. It's a controlling tool, and it is inconspicuous. Nobody notices because you're genuinely asking questions. Okay, the next thing which actually kills conversations or sometimes damages people's reputation as a good person to talk to, and that is assumptions and when we mislead people. Don't get me wrong, but most of us do that. When we have conversations with people, a lot of times we assume things and speak those things as facts. That's pretty misleading, and that's not going to help. So don't mislead. If you don't know something, simply say, I don't know. Being present, listening, entering into a conversation in order to learn, in order to get inspired. We also talked about using open-ended questions and lead-ins. We also talked about the fact that we should not mislead people. Seventh point, conversations are not about me. Like the way, those people who, when they have conversations, 60% to 80% of the times they're just talking about themselves. Let's not steal somebody's thunder. If somebody's having a moment within a conversation, let them have it. It's their moment. Your moment will come later. Wait for it, and when you have it, put your best foot forward. Conversations are also about having a common ground with other people. Someone else's experience cannot be yours. So when somebody says that I went through this, let's say I went through divorce, if you have gone through a divorce, you're not going to jump right into it and say, hey, I know what you feel exactly. I've had a divorce too, so we are in the same boat. Guys, nobody is in the same boat. Everybody has a different boat. You might have a similar color boat, you might have the same size of the boat, but it's not the same boat. What I'm trying to say here is your experiences may be similar, but they won't be same. When somebody else is talking about an experience, don't come up with your experience and tell them that, what, I've gone through what you have gone through. No, let's find common grounds based on emotions. That person has gone through emotions. You have gone through similar emotions. Let's talk about those emotions. Yeah, that experience in my life, for example, a divorce, made me feel confused, aggravated, blah, blah. Emotions. Let's talk about emotions there, not about just the situation. That's how you will find that there are more similarities in emotion, that you'd be able to connect deeply when you talk about emotions rather than situations. Having said that, a lot of people overdo it. Let's keep our conversations crisp. Let's not overcook the conversation. Don't repeat yourselves a lot. I'm sure you must have interacted with people who repeat stuff a lot. You might as well guess what it feels like to sit next to a person who repeats the topic so much. Let's keep the conversation fresh. Also, last but not the least, keep it sufficient. You need to know where to stop. You need to know when you're having a conversation that this is the time when I should stop. You want to leave people with things to ponder so they come back to have a conversation with you. So these 10 points, you watch it over and over again. I've given these 10 habits. They will ask you to change something in yourself in order to have a good conversation. Okay, so I'm going to stop today's live. Just let me know how you feel about it. Put your comments. If you want something else to be covered, let me know that as well. This video, by the way, is also out of a demand by one of you who simply asked Nasser how to have conversations. Let me know. The comment section is right down there. Help yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay connected.